Hi everyone, I'm Yannick from Spot Sensors. We're a company based in UK in Shenzhen, as I said earlier. And we do things that, there we go, that I like to call sensors for the personal environment. Basically, because I haven't come up with a better way of describing it. It came out of my own research background, which was what we used to call wireless sensors. Now we call it Internet of Things. And you know, quite a few years ago, that started to become something that's really viable in a commercial sense. And I've been looking for different applications of that. I worked together with two other people in the UK. Our CEO, who comes from a corporate background, has a lot of very good connections there. And my other colleague, who comes from a kind of Internet of Things cloud background. And we are developing a number of different wireless sensors. And this is going to sound really crazy because we've got like 8 different products on the go. But all our products are built on some common platforms that allows us to explore a lot of different product dimensions in a very dynamic, very quick development way. So we have a product line called AirSpot, which is about measuring different qualities of the air. We have a product called Sunspot, which basically really simple device measures UV levels and warns you if you need to put on some sunscreen. And for this we have a retail partner in the UK that we're working with. StormSpot and FloodSpot I'm not going to talk about much today. FloodSpot is kind of a vein of the AirSpot for all the cities that want to know when they're going to get flooded. So that's becoming quite popular. AirSpot City is the kind of the big daddy. It's a really nice system for monitoring air quality. We have really high accuracy gas sensors in here, and the board that you see at the top is a really flexible sensor-based platform. So you can hook up some 16 different sensors to that. We have a really nice sensor interface. That means you can just plug all the different sensors in there, configure it really nicely with an app on your phone. And then we have another modular system for plugging in the comms modules. So whether you want to do LoRa or 4G or Wi-Fi or Sigfox, we just plug in the right card for that, and you can set that up with that. And you know, you're going to ask, how's this different from what the other people in this space do? And the two things really are is having a flexible sensor interface. If you look at some of our competitors' products, it's a bit of a mess when you open up their box because they have the specific interfaces for particular sensor sets. And the other thing is the configuration. Again, if you look at our competitors, you have to go to some website, set up a lot of things, download the firmware, upload the firmware, or say, it's a mess. So we make that simpler and have a really robust setup for that. And what this flows into is gives us the experience and the credibility to go into more of a consumer market. We have a product we call AirSpot Home. You see here a very nice design that was made for us by a product design company in Shenzhen. And this is something you would put in your home to monitor your indoor air quality. We do have a working functional prototype of this as well, but we're looking towards the next version of that because there's some sensors that our sensor partners are coming out with just now that will make this much more practical and better quality of data. My CEO insists that I mention that we've registered the design for this, so nobody in China is doing it. The Sunspot product I mentioned is the first product that we actually brought to a stage where it could go straight into the market. Yep.
Oh, 1 minute.
Right, Brexit is putting a bit of a spanner in that, but never mind. We're a very small team, but we work with other contractors, as I mentioned. We have a nice software backend for all this stuff, apps, firmware, cloud. And at the moment we're focusing on B2B sales to retail partners because for a small team that's easier than building up our own marketing strategy. Financials, the AirSpot City stuff we're developing organically. and we are looking for some financing on the export home device. And this question I'll skip because Kwik answered it earlier. I'm pretty confident on manufacturing side because I've done it through my contracting work in the past. Some of the scaling up side will become more interesting on the home device. And one other thing is, if anyone else is interested, I have this kind of bug in my brain around making manufacturing accessible to the guy who wants to make 500 units of it, because he's come up with some idea that there's just 500 people in the world that want it. But actually, I think that can be done. But so far, most of the factories in China, I'm quite interested in that. And how can we kind of bridge that to this guy? So, I find it interesting.
All right. Thank you very much. I forgot we should have each person introduce themselves. We'll start with Carl.
I'm supposed to be the one who knows about prototyping and developing products. I have done it. I do it still. And that's it. You asked me some questions, maybe I can help you. Yes?
Carol, you're being way too humble. So, taking businesses to market successfully? You've done a bunch of development?
Yeah. For years and years I ran a sourcing company, motor sourcing, but it doesn't really end there. When you source motors for a client, they're going to want to drive, they're going to want brackets, they're going to want, before you know it, you're making the whole product. And it takes a really, really, really long time to find the right ways to do it. You just can't trust anything in China. You can't trust even the same manufacturer is going to, they're fine for 2 years and then the third year they're not, you know. So the biggest part of this, I mean, this is not even manufacturing, this is just developing product. Manufacturing is even like, this is even worse. But even the developing products, like we have to, a company will do a nice little SLA job for you or something. It'll be nice first time, second time, then start creeping up the price, right? And so you move to another one. And so you end up with 6 different manufacturers that do the same thing, and you keep changing from one to the other, right? That's just that kind of nonsense that happens all the time. So, I've been through this for other people's products for years and years. Now I do my own products, and it's the same kind of thing. It's doable, and I think what's allowed me to do it efficiently is just that I take away the whole China side of it. What I do personally is very little to do with China. I've taken that away. I have a nice clean interface to the China thing, and I don't involve very many people. If you involve a lot of people, things get screwed up all the time. So almost everything is done by me, and I involve very few other people, and they take care of everything Chinese. And that's kind of how I'm able to do the job as well as I do.
I'm Josh Steinley, and see, Carl's a product guy, and so he needed a little nudge to talk about himself. I'm a marketing guy. I had to get over that years ago, so I'll talk about myself, no problem. But so I moved here to Shenzhen 4 months ago. I was in Hong Kong for 3 years before that. I'm the founder and CEO of a digital marketing agency called MWI. We've been around since 1999. We do websites, SEO, paid search, social media, content marketing, all that type of stuff. And we're opening an office here in Shenzhen because we're helping companies here in China get into Western markets. So we work with Chinese companies like Wanda Group is the big one, and then locally we work with Meowking. Anybody heard of Meowking? They do like these cool retro-looking radio Bluetooth speaker things. Okay, somebody knows them. Great. So I also happen to enjoy writing stuff, and so I've written hundreds of articles for Forbes, Mashable, TechCrunch, and a bunch of other publications. I have this book, Chief Marketing Officers at Work. I brought this copy tonight, and I announced online that I would give this out to the first person who asked me a marketing question tonight, but that's too easy. So instead, I have a marketing term in my head that I'm thinking of, and the first person who asks me a question that has that marketing term in it, they're going to get this copy of the book. So ask your questions, try to guess what that term is, and you might win a copy of the book. Also, quick plug, I organized the China Marketing Summit. We're having our preview event this Saturday here in Shenzhen. We've got about 600 people. We've got the creator of Angry Birds coming out to speak at that, and some other great marketers. So if you're into marketing, and China, go check out ChinaMarketingSummit.com, and you can get all the information there and get some tickets. All right.
Fisher again. I'm representing Berkeley Sourcing Group here in manufacturing. We've manufactured 800 products. Some of the top biggest show in Shark Tank, the clean bottle, where Bill Walton puts out a clean bottle on stage, and taken quite a few of those to market successfully. So we've got our team. We've got 25 here in Shenzhen. A lot of them are here. If you guys have manufacturing questions, we're happy to answer those. We primarily have worked with startups over that time, and primarily helping Western clients manage China, and I'm fully on board. I'm the only white guy in our company here in China, and so I fully support that it's tough to do it in China, and you got to find the right resources to do that. So we do have special experience, especially very broad actually, injection molding, compression molding, electronics, plastics, metals, rubbers, you name it. It's mostly our focus has been on how do startups make products, and as I kind of mentioned earlier, it's a very, very different path to everything, marketing and everything else included, but manufacturing particularly, and the 500 unit problem is one that every startup has, and I can tell you it's impossible. I'm sorry to it's really, really hard. It's possible, but it costs a lot, and you might as well make 2,000 because usually it's about the same price. But it is, manufacturing. There are technologies you have to understand and see how they scale and how you get that back. But yeah, I don't want to take many more time, so let's there.
Hello, my name is Derek. I came over from Hong Kong tonight to speak to everybody. I'm in the finance space, so I invest in startups. I have a fund called BraveSoldier Venture Capital, and I've been working with startups since the late 90s, and I've read over 15,000 business plans and pitches since then. Sounds like a lot, but it's not. If you read 20 business plans per week for 15 years, you'll get there. I've had over 500, even though I live in Hong Kong, I've had over 500 day trips into Shenzhen. So I do a lot of hardware manufacturing investments. Some examples are robotics, SIM card manufacturing, mobile payments. I invested in mobile payments in 2005. Sold it to China Mobile 4 years later. Now I'm doing electronic cigarettes, which I think is the next big thing. Our fund is specific in the sense that we invest in companies, but we also take an active role in helping to manage those companies. So we aren't just passive investors where we invest and sit at a board level, but we actually roll up our sleeves and sit alongside the founders and work with them. So every week I'm at a factory somewhere in Shenzhen working on the production line, I like what Greg's doing with Hardware Massive, because in the late 90s, we didn't have any companies like his around that had that structure in place to help you get your product to market. So for me, it's very old school. We're just a small team. We do similar to what Greg does, but we just don't have the infrastructure in place or all the processes in place. So we get companies to market in about a year and a half, about 15 months. We'll invest in a company, and usually about a year and a half time, then you have mass manufacturing and the product's out in the marketplace. So about 15 months ago, we invested in an e-cig company, electronic cigarette company, and I'm very proud to say that in January, just in a couple of weeks' time, we have a national rollout across the United States in every convenience store. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of these devices going out into the markets. And we're selling to the guy that sells to 7-Eleven, to the guy that sells to Walmart, to the guy that sells to Target, to all of the convenience stores, the gas station chains. We're also helping with the branding and the marketing and the distribution. It's not about selling onesies and twosies to small distributors, small retailers, but it's about getting that national distribution. And that's where you get the scale. But you first start off with your 500 units, and then you work your way up to a mass scale.
So back to the question.
Back to the question, right. So to answer the question of what have we actually produced so far, so the Airport City I mentioned at the beginning, that one we've got prototype units out in the field with our partners. The Sunspot UV I mentioned, we got that all squared off with the contract manufacturer that our partner in the UK liked, and then Brexit happened, and now everything that our partner is buying from anywhere in the world costs them 15% more, so this chaos. So that's kind of on ice just now. And the Airspot Home, we have prototypes, design and functional prototypes, but not integrated yet.
Okay. Seems like marketing is separate.
Well, sure. So who exactly are your customers and how do you approach them and how do you get deals closed?
Okay, so on the Airspot City side, the customers are either cities or in some cases companies that work with cities to install their environmental sensing networks. They seem to come to us, and I don't quite understand why. My CEO makes those links, and he's really good at that. So I can't quite answer that question, but it seems to work, which is nice.
So they're coming to you, which is nice. You don't have to go through partnerships or something to get to them.
In some cases we do, yeah. We have some partnerships that are going on there as well.
How are they finding out about you?
It doesn't matter too much, I can just talk more loudly. So it seems in a lot of cases they come to us through the networks that we're connected through. So in the UK, there's some really good kind of business networks that benefit us. There's also Scottish Development International, they give us a lot of links in China. So that's been working out pretty well, but it's a pretty, it's not kind of your traditional, very active, aggressive marketing that we've been doing.
So this is what I tell a lot of companies that I see is whenever you're doing a pitch, don't think of it as giving it a presentation. Nobody wants to hear a presentation, but everybody wants to hear a story, right? So you have to be a really good storyteller. You have to be able to connect with the audience and speak in a language in which they understand. So it would be great if on the next time you revise this or you do the pitches, is to really connect with the audience and talk about, raise your hand, how many people here have experience with bad air quality or something like that, so that everybody's like, oh, well, we all have that problem, right? If you're talking about a product that it monitors the quality of the air, does it purify the air? Does it do that? Because that would be my next question. It's like, do I want to have a monitor at home, or do I want to have something that monitors and purifies the air? Because if it tells me I have bad air, well, what can I do about it? Well, then if I go out and buy an air purifier like IQ Air, which also monitors the air, then I don't need your product, right? So you need to have.
No, indeed, yeah, I will definitely take your point on board about the story. I have a slightly funny story about that. I was at a pitching event once in Chengdu, and I didn't realize that the translator was absent, and I gave my whole spiel with a very nice story. And at the end, I just had like a sea of blank faces. So next time I'll have to also learn to give it in Chinese. Yeah, on the Airspot Home, the one interesting aspect of that is we have some interested parties who want to combine that with like skincare creams and things like that. We give people advice on how they can protect themselves, not just in terms of purifying the air.
I mean, part of it is also about education, right? Because consumers don't really know much about air quality. They just take it for given that if the air is bad, that's just the way it is. So there should be an education component in the message that you're delivering. I also think that when you have a presentation like this, you know the common saying, a picture's worth 1,000 words, right? Have less words and more pictures, because that way the audience, they don't have to read what you're talking about. They just look at the picture, then they can listen to your words, and then they make the connection. But if you put too many words and you're telling the story, I'm too busy reading what you're writing, and then I'm not listening to you, right? And then I'm playing catch up, because every time you flip a slide, then I have to read again, and I'm not listening to you at all. So it's always good to have a picture, and then you tell the story.
Yeah, I thought the picture of the prototype was very compelling. You know, it was pretty, and you know, out of out of your whole pitch, that's what struck me, was that you have a pretty design, right? This is, I mean, there's a lot of air quality sensors and other things out there. And so this goes to my question is, so let me take a quick step back. You know, the reason we have this event tonight is, as I mentioned earlier, a big part of what we're really trying to do here is to try to get hardware startup founders to think about the business more than the product, right? And when you look at your deck, right, it's all product. Right? I don't see costs, I don't see margins, I don't see funding, I don't see market, I don't see buyer persona. And so my fundamental advice would be the product is 5% of the business, it should be 5% of the deck. Okay, fundamentally, because that's learning about that other 95% is really going to be that part that gets you to the next level. Right, you've got to get all that other stuff right. So getting a bit more to that, what makes you guys uniquely different or uniquely able to beat the competitors? Because it is there are a number of competitors in this field.
Yeah, there certainly are. And then it's a question that I do struggle with sometimes, I'll be honest there. And one side of it is, I think we do have a little bit, we come from a different background than a lot of the developers of these kind of products. A lot of them do come from China, and they have one quite particular way of seeing this problem. And coming from the UK, we look at that in a slightly different way. The problem is a very different problem in the UK. Air quality problems in the UK are definitely not the same as air quality problems in China. So our first product is designed with the UK market in mind. But actually we get a lot of questions from people in China saying, oh, could you not sell this in China? And I'm like saying, well, we'll have to make a different version for you guys, but don't do that. So yeah, that's a thing in development, and you can probably tell that I'm the hardware guy in our company, and I should think a little bit more about those business questions for sure.
Even if you're not sure, so I guess taking a step back as far as the learning experience of this, in my experience, the ability to communicate the value proposition in as few words as possible is a direct relationship to your success. If you can say what you do and why you do it and why you do it better than anybody else in 5 words, you're probably going to be a very successful company. If you can do it in 4 words, you're probably going to be Apple, literally, right? And so every single word makes so much of a difference. If you need 10 words, 11 words, 12 words, people are lost. They forgot what you were saying and they don't care anymore. And so you really have to know what is the value and how can you say that so succinctly that it resonates and they are ready, they're attached, right? And I guess overall, I don't, as a manufacturing guy, I think I should throw it over here to Josh for a final recap, because I think the main thing you guys, I think the manufacturing, the development, Carl, you haven't spoken, but those aren't the big issues. It's really the marketing.
Yeah, what they say is all correct. It is a business, and the product is not the main part of it, actually. But once you've got some people's interest in a product, people are going to follow up and ask you questions, and you need some quantifiable data. You can't just say, it's a nice modular system, and it's easier to connect than other devices because of whatever. There's no numbers there. So, I mean, my question to you after I become interested in your product, or show me some tests. Like, it's easier to connect than another system. How easier? Like here's a side-by-side comparison of this and that. And there must be 6 other things that are quite close to what you're doing. And where's the tests? So even does it perform better? I mean, I didn't hear you say that it does these measurements more precisely or better in some way. Perhaps it does, but you would have to have a test rig, and you'd have to, a little glassed-in box here and there with all the different products. And then you say, okay, good, now I'm really convinced that this is a solid thing.
Sure.
And from a fundraising standpoint, I'm not seeing anything on there that would talk about uniqueness or comparisons, or even any kind of mention about the team or your expertise, which is also very important, right? So I think there's some big pieces that are missing from your presentation, but you only have 2 minutes, so there's only so much you can say. So you really have to distill it down into what the message that you want to get across to the audience. That's really important. And you want to create that sense of urgency, that look, as an investor, you really want to be in on this, you really want to participate in this round, because you get in early, there's going to be a lot of upside. You need to be able to sell the urgency in the equation. If it's not an urgent thing, then for me as an investor, like, okay, well, let me know how you're doing in 6 months. Come back to me next year, right? Then you miss that opportunity, right? So you always need to make sure that you create that urgency in the storytelling.
I'm the marketing guy, and I feel like everybody else gave great marketing advice. Everybody's doing my job for me. But if I could just sum up what's been said here, I agree with everything that's been said, and I just keep little short sayings in my head, and that's how I measure a lot of marketing for myself and for our clients. Like Derek said, you want to tell stories, right? The reason you want to tell stories is because people do business with other people that they like, know, and trust. And they trust people and they like people, and those people tell a good story. That's why you want to tell a good story. And then your uniqueness, that thing came up. I like to call it your unfair advantage. What's your advantage that you have that just makes the game unfair, so that when you go to a customer or a client and you tell them what you do, they say, there's nobody else that does that. We have to go with you. We have no other choice. That's what you really want to push. That's what the investor wants to see, is that you've somehow got a lock or a monopoly on what you have through technology, through speed, through whatever it is. But they want to see that you have that lock. Otherwise, they're going to throw their money in there, and then a year from now, you've got 10 competitors, and they've all passed you by. And so.
Great. I finally want to say that thank you so much for jumping up here. It's a trial by fire. That's what this is all about. We're here to give you the tough love. So I hope it was useful. I hope you guys found it useful. And a big round of applause.